the doctor thought he had syphilis.
Which is I don't know how to explain it.
It's a sexually transmitted disease.
Oh my goodness.
If you don't have it treated, you go blind.
Oh, really?
That's the worst part of that one.
Oh, wow.
But it was like I was saying to you,
so
doctors
weird.
come up with the strangest things, you know.
Did they ever say it was in your head?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
They tell lots of people that. Yeah,
When he first had his first attack, they said he was having a
What was it?
a temper tantrum.
Oh my
He was
goodness.
mad about something. He'll get over it in a day
Oh
or two.
yeah. Yeah. Or they were saying that I like to go through these and what was the word? What was the word that?
Psychosomatic?
No, it was another word. I like to get attention
Well, yes.
to the
Yes, you're
paramedics,
getting
and I'm like, oh my goodness.
The first attack I ever had, I was probably about 6, maybe 7. My mother died when I was 4 or 5 years old. So my father was getting married. So he and his new bride went off on a honeymoon to the Smoky Mountains. And so I had this attack, first one. It was with my grandparents, which was the new bride's parents. And so they just let me stay on the bed. Although I couldn't move, they just said, okay, he's just, he's trying to get attention. His father left without him knowing, and I could hear them talking, but I couldn't talk to them. But that was the first time. And the second time, my father took me to a clinic there, because we were kind of out in the middle of nowhere, so there wasn't, the nearest place for a doctor was 20-something miles away. So we went there, and I heard the doctor telling my father, he'll be all right, don't worry about it. He's mad about something, and so he'll get over it.
Well, Doc had a wonderful experience for his first experience, because he went to a local doctor in Seattle, and he said, he asked the doctor, what's wrong with me? And the doctor said, it was a cardiologist, as it happened, and the doctor said, I don't know, but I'm doing a hell of a lot of reading. And so then he got diagnosed, but he was diagnosed hyper, because they did a blood test, and he was diagnosed hyper. So then a couple of years later, they heard this story. A couple of years later, he was making money as he had a job. This was when he was 18, the first diagnosis was. And he ended up going to NIH. Even at NIH, one of the first things they did to him was paralyze him fully, having him drink sugar and stuff. So he was fully paralyzed. And then they poked pins in the bottom of his feet to see if he really was paralyzed.
I had my grandfather's sister, she didn't have it. My grandfather did, but she didn't have it because she had a son that did. So when he had one of his more serious attacks, he was in Vanderbilt Hospital in Nashville, Tennessee. And so that's what they were doing. They were poking his feet with needles and, trying to get a reaction. He couldn't talk to them, but he was in pain, and he couldn't react to it. And so it got so bad, the doctors finally decided that he had died from something, but they didn't know what it was. So they kind of were standing around, and one of the doctors said, I thought I seen his chest move. And the doctor, no, you didn't. He's gone. So the doctor went and got a cold mirror, put it in front of his face, and a mirror fire. That's how close it was.
Well, it's amazing that they discovered that,
and when your husband was 18, so that's been a number of years ago.
Yes, that would have been, he was born in 44.
1, 2, check, 1, 2.
61.
He's 61, and so how is it that these doctors that are supposed to be so smart now, when she comes in, they don't have a clue?
Yeah, because not all doctors, correct?
Right, no, because it is a rare disease.
Right.
And most doctors have had, they might have read about it in a book in
That's right.
medical school,
Yes.
but they've never seen a patient, likely never will see a patient with a condition. And so, but they have seen patients with hysteria, with, all these other things.
How I describe the doctor is he may be too smart for my own good. That scares me,
Yeah, one time I had a doctor say, I don't know what's wrong with you. Why don't
1, 2.
I take off my coat and you wear it?
1, 2.
I got a neurologist now. He's in training. But anyway, I called him several times, and he talked to Dr. Lovitz. After he talked to Dr. Lovitz, I called his office to see what they had talked about. And his secretary says to me, well, I don't know why you keep calling him. We can't help him.
2, hey. You're on a delay.
Well, I think it is our job to educate our doctors. That is our
They want to listen.
We have to find a doctor who's willing to listen, and then we have to proceed to educate.
That's exactly what she's done. She put a book together, and anywhere she goes, to the doctor and stuff, and then she'll. This is what I'm dealing with. Read about it, and then I'll come back and see.
And you also, with Don, if you refer them to websites that have, then sometimes if they're intending to think, then maybe they will get more interested and see, oh yeah, this sort of matches, well, it's a possibility. But they have to invest, because it's a rare disease, they have to invest a lot of their time studying it, and some of them just are not.
A lot of them just don't take that time. That's exactly true.
Yeah, my neurologist now says that in his reading, what he knows is what he knows of the condition, which is different what I've been reading. So I've been kind of coaxing him to
Print it off, give it to him,
Yeah.
give him the sites, and then ask him.
Hi, everybody. I'd like to call the conference to order, if you could. Wow, the acoustics are pretty good. I'm Dr. Jake Levin. Welcome everybody to the, I don't know really what number Periodic Paralysis Association conference this is, but 15, 16, something like that. Just a few things in the very beginning. There is a kind of safe zone, EMS zone in the back. If you feel like you're going to get paralyzed, have an attack, and don't want to be by your chair, feel free to, mosey on over there and hang out, and we'll tend to you over there. We have EMTs here, just in case. So thank you guys for coming. The temperature in the room, Shelly is in charge of that. I think Shelly's outside there. But is it okay now? Like too cold, too hot? Some people like it hot, some people like it cold. Y'all should get married.
Don't make a problem.
Exactly. Yeah. Don't procreate. What? No. Okay. So, but just please ask Shelly if the temperature is off, and we can adjust. Okay. The bathrooms. The bathroom I went to was quite a ways. So it's down the hall all the way to the right and the left. Is there another one closer? It's down that way. Oh. Okay. Well, anyway, I got some exercise this morning. And feel free, if you have to get up and walk around, by all means, stand up, mill around. It's totally fine. the whole point of this conference is that, you know, unlike the rest of the world, we hopefully understand each other and realize that, you know, we have to do these kind of things to get along. We are doing this year again, venturing again into the GoToWebinar space. And I have to thank the Sanders family for the technical support of making this work today. Are we started, by the way?
Yeah, we're running.
It's running?
Yeah, it's rolled out.
And I guess we're on you know, mute, so meaning they can't talk to us, but we can talk to them. Welcome everyone from the internet world. I wanted to give just a little bit of history of the association. And I know we kind of do this each conference, but I think it's important to know. Like when I was 12, I had, you know, among my first attacks of paralysis, I was in my karate class. I do karate. You see me punching the air. I'm not psychotic. You know, I couldn't. Oh, they can. Okay. Hi. I'm reading that sheet. Anyway, so I got paralyzed, but my cousin is a neurologist, and so he made the diagnosis like straight away and took potassium in my kitchen, and it was 2.6, and so I had treatment pretty quickly. Well, anyway, when I got to med school, I decided I should probably look into, you know, what's this all about. And so I went on the internet and found Deb from the Periodic Paralysis International. And so I reached out to her, and then I stopped talking with her for a while. I'm not sure why. I lost interest. But then we kind of got together again, and the Patrick Cochran was now involved in this group. Excuse me one second. And Patrick had his wife had Anderson's Will syndrome at the time. They didn't know about that, and so they were trying to search for answers. And so Patrick made the Periodic Paralysis Association. And then I became. Excuse me. I don't know. I get public speaking anxiety. So it's uncontrollable. I should take 10 milligrams of propranolol. Gotta give me a second. Yeah, it's so bizarre. It's like you can't control like that when that happens. So anyway, Patrick formed the PPA. Very forward-looking of him to try to get all the kind of world experts together to search for answers for periodic paralysis. And that's kind of how the organization came about. And then little by little, now that we had an internet presence, you know, people from around the world found us and joined, and this is kind of, you know, who we are. We were founded in 1997, and we had our first meeting in 1999, and now it's 2015, and we're all a bit older, but wiser. Yeah, so... But I guess so that's how we came about, and just wanted to introduce the board. So we're a 100% volunteer board. So in my other life, I'm a dermatologist. I'm vice chairman of dermatology at Mount Sinai, New York. I run a residency program of 24 residents, and I do my karate thing. Linda Fell, do we have? I'm going to let every board member introduce themselves.
I'm just really short down here beside Jay. My name is Linda Feld, and I've talked to many, many of you all over the world about the Periodic Paralysis Association, and we have had some great conversations. I'm here with my dog Keith today, and I'm just so happy to be here. My other life, I'm retired. I think I've been busy here after I've retired than I was when my husband was working. But we're traveling in our motorhome. I am a big part of the PPA. I am a 30-year hospice volunteer, and I'm also involved with Canine Companions now. So I stay really busy. So welcome everyone across the world. I'm so happy to see you, and now you're seeing my face.
Great. Thank you. No feedback. Okay. Jeff, next board member.
Hi, my name is Jeff Albertson, and I've been associated with PPA now for a couple of years, 3 years, going 2.5 years. And my second conference. It's wonderful to see everybody here in Orlando. Welcome. I spent my whole career, I'm retired now, I spent my whole career taking from people. I was a buyer for Universal Studios and Walt Disney World. So I was the one that was charging, $12 for a coffee cup. And after a career of that, it's really good to be back in this side of it, giving back. And so that's what I'm doing as a volunteer. I am working with some of the greatest people in the world, and I appreciate that opportunity. And again, welcome.
And he's a famous author. Two books that I read one of them. Very, very insightful stuff. Shelley. Where'd Shelley go? Well, we have another board member, Grace Charles. Grace was here last meeting, and she was a student at Mount Sinai in my dermatology course. And I asked the dermatology course if anyone wanted to do a project in periodic paralysis. We got some quizzical looks, but she and another student were some takers. And then Grace stayed on to be a board member with us, and she's now a primary care internist in the Northeast. And Shelley, this is Shelley Shipman. She's coming. She wears many hats.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the conference. I'm hoping to speak to all of you at some point. I am the treasurer. I live in Texas right now, but I'm moving to Ohio next week.
I'll hold it closer.
I don't like this.
No, I know.
Okay. No, I don't want to stand in front of the camera. Okay, I live for this. I absolutely live for this. So if anyone is from the Ohio area, going to be around Columbus. Yay! Awesome. Pardon?
Fantastic.
No idea.
5 miles out of Columbus.
Oh, great. Okay, yeah, I'll be on the south side. But I like to get together. I love to do lunch, so definitely look me up. I have hypo. I am also one of those extra strange ones that has to have sodium. So we're all a little bit unique with this disease. I would recommend you talk to as many people as you can. Find someone who's like you. Ask a lot of questions. The speakers are amazing. The information you're going to learn is going to be wonderful. But you can learn the little tricks from talking to each other. So, just a little bit there. I also am the person who takes all your money, and I appreciate everything. There have been some very unique donations that have happened in the last couple years. I wanted to give a shout out to Brian Dodge, who approached me after the last conference and asked if he could donate every month. And at first I told him, no, we don't want your money, but then I agreed it was okay. So he has found a unique way to donate. There was a group, and I don't quite remember where, but they did a fundraiser with Harry Potter's theme, and they raised hundreds of dollars for us. So any way you want to do it is awesome. Anything helps. I personally would like to try to get some people, if you want to volunteer for a little committee on fundraising. I can work with your money, I can document it. I'm not good for asking about or asking for it. So if there's anyone who's interested or anyone at home, let me know. I'm hoping for maybe 3-4 people that have good ideas. Nancy Ramsey, I don't know if she came in yet. Here you go. She gave me this bracelet. It has a zebra on it, which you're not going to be able to see from here, but it's really cool. And there's a lady who makes them, and she just had an idea. And that's how it all starts. So if, again, just look me up.
Does that show up on the...
My bling? Yeah.
Look at that.
Nice. Maybe we can get it in blue. Right, Nancy? Okay, so just let me know. And thank you. I'm glad you're all here.
Thank you, Shelley. So, so we started as a very small group. I think our first annual meeting, just going to stay there. Anyway, our first annual meeting was like 20 or 30 folks. And now we have like, I think 150 registered. Maybe there's 100 people in the room, something like that. And we're from all around the world. I just wanted to, how many people are here from outside the U.S.? Wow! That's nuts! That's great. So I guess let's go, we got to go around the room and see where you're from, right? So yes?
We're from the Netherlands.
And? Netherlands? Good representation of said Netherlands.
We're from Alberta, Canada.
Oh, from Canada. Great. Canada.
Chile.
Chile.
Yes.
Chile. Norway. I know there's a Germany out there. Germany. Anywhere else?
UK.
UK. From across the pond.
New Zealand.
Yeah, that's a good 24-hour investment right there, just to fly over. So did I leave anyone out? Then, okay, great. And so it's just astonishing that, we started with a very localized group of folks, and now we've expanded really, truly internationally. So it's very flattering that everyone would come and welcome. We've also made a small attempt to expand beyond hyperkalemic periodic paralysis, hypokalemic, and Anderson-Tawil. There's another group of disorders out there that are ion channelopathies. It's a chloride ion channelopathy called myotonia congenita. And we invited one speaker, Dr. Lawson, who has that, to speak about myotonia congenita, and hopefully we will expand and broaden our membership to be inclusive of all the neuromuscular ion channelopathies. Now, it's the first time that we ever had exhibitors at the Periodic Paralysis Conference. So it works out that finally there was a drug approved officially with an indication for periodic paralysis. Now, granted, it's an old drug that we knew about, but it took many, many years to get back onto the market, and that's dichlorphenamide. And Taro Pharmaceuticals, where I used to work, my grandfather actually had founded that company, and we initiated starting its development. We bought it from Merck while I was still there. We subsequently got bought out, but Taro continued to develop it and now brought it to market as Keveyis. And so they've come to the conference, and they've actually generously sponsored, offered to sponsor a lot of the costs of the conference, which we usually run for the past however many years we've done it at a significant loss. So that is really fantastic. And then there is a pharmacy that they work with to distribute the medicine, and that's Diplomat Pharmacy. And so I suppose some of you have already engaged with Diplomat Pharmacy and Taro. So we welcome them and thank them for coming to the conference. And please find some time to say hello to them if you can. So with that, I think we've gone through all the introductory stuff. One more introductory thing. Mike?
I just need a lot of attention, so sorry. I'm the one who's going to be looking around the room and kind of trolling, looking for people who might need help if they're going down or need any assistance. So let me know if you need any help. The EMTs are back there and they're ready to roll. That's what I'll be doing. If someone is alone and has special needs, or if you're with somebody if you have special needs, if you have pain, if there are things I should know, please flag me down. Okay? So we can help assist if anybody needs it the best we can.
All right. So we're going to introduce our first speaker in this case, and Linda's going to introduce him.
Our first speaker is Dr. Leigh Mack, and it's kind of a funny story the way that Dr. Mack and I met. I was at a veterinary conference with my dog Keith, And a man stopped by and he told me what a pretty dog I had. And we just started talking. I was there with our secretary, Jeff Albertson, and we were there for canine companions. But as we talked to Dr. Mack, we realized that we really had something in common. And I can't wait for you to hear what he has to say, because I think he's an amazing man. So without further ado, here's Dr. Mack.
Thank you. I was kind of surprised when we first met. Canine companions I've known about for a few years, several years, and I've worked in veterinary biotech. I feel like I'm going in and out. I guess I should get the camera. Hello out there. But I've been in veterinary biotech for, give or take, I guess, almost 8 or 9 years. It wasn't planned that way. I'll go through my PowerPoint, so let's hope we have it up. But we started talking about the condition and what it is. And now Jake says he gets nervous, I get nervous too. You can't tell him this. So I feel so good that I'm not the only one that's like this.
Contagious.
It is. But anyway, I'm really excited to be here. But we started talking about it and what it was, and I was having flashbacks to my first year of medical school and talking about, potassium and sodium calcium levels and how when those things change, what can occur. And so we were talking quite a bit for probably a half hour or better. And I said, well, why don't they have a monitor? Why don't they have a system to monitor the potassium real time? Or in some of these conditions, the sodium and any other bio indicators that you normally have in labs. And so we started kicking it around and talking, and I said, well, what about this and this and this? And I did a post-grad in nanotechnology for nanomedicine at Oxford. And I'll get to that, hopefully. I'm a Mack guy, so I'm kind of an unconventional MD. I went back midlife. So you can kind of see some of the other stuff I've done here. If you want to speak military, I was a combat arms officer for 7.5 years, reserve component. If you want to talk about sales, marketing, Ford and Caterpillar are two names that I'm pretty familiar with. But I went from doing corporate America to go into biotech, and I found myself at a meeting for spine fixation for titanium rexus screws and how we're going to nanophase them and make them super hydrophobic. So basically bacteria, biofilm won't stick to it. And we get to the dinner and we're all talking, and we have 2 companies, and the neurosurgeon goes, what's your background? And I said, I got a bachelor's in business, and you could hear the train hitting the wall. So on the flight back with my boss, I said, I got to get back to school. This is kind of crazy. So when Lynn put this together, I should have my PhD by June, but I kind of got busy. So I'll have it December 20th. So the PhD is kind of a precursor. But anyway, over the years, I've worked with a lot of nanoparticles, some drug delivery systems, both veterinary and human medicine. And so I kind of can speak both. And then also manufacturing for 3-dimensional printing, different engineering stuff. I'm not a mechanical engineer by any means, but I can usually make the segue. So I had 9 months since NABC in January in Orlando here, and I started researching this, and Jake and I spoke once or twice about it, and he has a lot better handle on the chemistry and biochemistry and pharmaceutical aspect of it than I'll probably never have. But I keep coming back to the idea of having the ability to tell what's happening with your body is continuous. So I don't know, how many people out here are familiar with biosensors? Anybody? We got a few hands? So biosensors are a pretty wide category of stuff. I mean, it's something that you can tell biological changes in the body that are happening. So a biosensor can be a lot of things. But my time at Oxford, we had a guy that worked at Apple, and out of the 12 of us who graduated from the program, he was the only Apple guy. We had quite a mix of people. But Apple is, and I'll get into it in a minute, Apple is going in that direction. I can't talk about Google or Microsoft or anybody else, but they are getting heavy into medical and analysis. So right now, there's a lot of patents on glucometers and measuring glucose in the bloodstream to help diabetics manage. But I want to talk about, over the 9 months I had a lot of time to think about this and research it and look at it. And I think the first step to managing it is the continuous monitoring system. So if you think about it, and I can't relate because I don't have your condition and what you experience daily. I will never probably have a grasp of it. But what I do understand about it is if you could simply continually monitor the potassium levels, that would probably help you a great deal. And secondly, it would give you a heads up when something's changing, even at minute levels, so you can address it right away. And then I'll get to the other stuff why it's a good idea too. But the challenges in the past, I guess, seem to be that you can't, you don't know what it is right now. Does anybody know what your potassium level is right now at this very moment? Nobody.
3.7.
One person. One person out here. Okay, I would like it if everybody could say, yeah, I know what it is continually. This would be really neat. Am I? Is it okay? Oh, I'm going to move around and they want me on camera. I'm sorry for the folks out there in the TV land. So, it just makes sense if you could continually monitor. It would lead to better management of the condition. You could address it sooner and faster. And what I look at it, going back as a researcher, I developed an app last month for chronic wounds, and we designed it in-house for the company I work for to control a study in India or one in North Carolina or one in Romania. We're actually having people in Romania right now. And we have consistent data collection worldwide. But after we kind of got reviews, we're probably just going to give it away and just let people use it so they can assess chronic wounds more effectively. It's not that big a deal. So you keep coming back to how you can continually monitor different things and collect a mass amount of data so researchers can use this data. So imagine, if you will, if we had sensing systems that you could have on an app or an iPhone, iPod, iWatch, and that data could be uploaded to a physician. You could share it with whoever you want, or you could keep it private. But the amount of data coming in for researchers to see trends and correlations, out even make up algorithms, would be phenomenal. So that gets us to this. This is kind of a, I guess, second generation sensor. And some of the sensing technology out there, you'll hear a lot of stuff about nanotechnology. Everybody knows what nano means, nanomedicine. So if you know, it's a billionth of a meter. So that's kind of the scale that we're working on. This is not nanotechnology, but it's just based on micro level. And what you have is basically a lab on a chip. So we're talking about a lab on a chip that you can have sensors in the skin that will constantly monitor different serum levels in the body. And also the sweat, which is, I think, kind of relative to what you guys have. So as the person sweats or expires throughout the day and night, you can see the pH levels, potassium levels, sodium, all that kind of stuff. This is pretty real. There's 2 new patents on this. One was in 2012 by a very smart university professor at the University of Arkansas. And then the second was just patented from some folks in China. And those are the ones that specifically list out biosensor that can be used in this kind of fashion. They list specifically potassium levels. So these are patents. These are 2 patents that are granted. They're not applications. They're actually granted patents. So I think this technology would really lend itself to periodic paralysis. And so it's a near real-time. So you can see it. You have, in the bottom of it, it's a microprocessor. And the needles are probably about like a hair. So if everybody's been bitten by a mosquito, it's about that size or smaller. the nanotechnology is actually quite a bit smaller, but you have multiple sensors that would go down through a few layers of your skin to the sub-Q and be able to analyze multiple points in that whole patch. So translation, you probably change this every few weeks. You have a Tegaderm type bandage over top of it, and it would transmit to a phone or a computer or smartwatch. So this doesn't exist today, and I don't want to lead you on to think that it's something out in the hall that some exhibitor has. But the good news is there are 2 patents. There's probably a few more people fighting over some other patents on this. And the technology is getting there with some of the bigger computer companies like Apple to actually sense all sorts of biochemistry that's in our bloodstreams. And it's probably a few years out. So what's so interesting about the one patent, it's this one. This is the University of Arkansas patent. And they developed it for cardiology. So cardiology is big money. You know, if you can predict a heart attack, you can probably make a little bit of money with that. So that's what this is for. And if you see up in the upper right-hand corner, that's a bottom of a penny. And you can see how small it is. So you can have multiple sensors. This particular patent the gentleman has it's really wide. He put another patent where you can actually have it enclosed. So it's another condition and stuff. I thought that was pretty interesting. But it specifically lists that a unique biosensor that measures concentration of potassium and hydrogen ions. So I keep coming back to the thought that we can, I guess I've kind of bought into this after I've done all this research, that you guys could ride the coattails on some other technologies that have been developed for cardiology and some other stuff that once they get a 510K, which is a device clearance by FDA, and since this is pretty passive, I can't imagine it being more than a class 2. So once they say this device is indicated to measure potassium levels in the blood for heart attacks, and FDA says, yeah, you can do this, you can use it with patients. To come back and do a second 510K for periodic paralysis applications would be really quite easy. So I keep coming back to, maybe giving this group some direction. I can help with it with different organizations that have some information and how you guys can kind of follow maybe some key industry trends, and maybe as a group look at contacting some of the patent holders, developers, that kind of thing, to see if there's applications for a beta trial. And I think that's the next evolution, because I think if you can monitor this continually, I think at that point you're going to be able to manage it a lot better. You're going to have tons of data for research, and hopefully it'll get to the next phase, which is drug delivery. And we can get into that off record if you guys want to. I don't want to use too much time, but there's a lot of implantable drug delivery systems that would actually work with a lab-on-chip out nanosize that actually have a safe battery system that will get naturally absorbed in the body. Some of the drug delivery systems are set up like a parking garage. If you can imagine a parking garage the size of maybe, I don't know, I guess the size maybe a millimeter or 2 by millimeter or 2 wide, so that it would be an implantable, and it would sense, deliver the drug. Those devices are already out there. It's just a matter of connecting all the dots and having the technology. So I didn't familiarize myself with all the pharmaceuticals that are available to you, but I think monitoring is the first part, and I think from there, once you get monitoring down, I think then you can get into the delivery systems would be more effective. So this is in my research, these are the 2 patents, but on SPY, it's kind of an interesting little group. And I can send a link to anybody who wants it. They're doing a lot of sensing. They're using micro-sized sensors, optic sensing, And, you know, one other thing I can't think of, but it's a really interesting group. But I keep coming back to this as probably the most viable option. Jake and I talked, and Linda and I talked, and I said, well, what about a sensor that, you know, you can, you know, sense the exhalation and chemistry changes, and then I started thinking, no, it's not going to work. There's food and all that, throw that off. And then there's some conditions or diseases that actually have contact lenses that have chip in them. And when certain chemistry changes in tears, it'll change the contact lens. So a person can see if the condition's changing, and that's more sodium-based conditions in the tear system. So coming back to it, I think of all the patents that are coming out on this, specifically naming potassium measurements in their patent and how it works, and actually having a viable platform, I think are probably going to be the area that is most effective for accurately measuring this. So, sorry for the short presentation. I had a lot of things going this week and last week. So, does anybody have any questions?
Yes. How are we going to do that with the...
Here, I'll just come back. I don't know if you're going to be on video, but well, or come on up and we'll. You guys want to come up on questions? We can both be on TV. Okay. Okay. Hi. I got. Alan. Yeah, Alan.
Yeah. So. What, yeah. Now we go to
Yeah. Great.
Yeah. So. Was I correct in saying that you had potassium monitors that could go directly into heart tissue that you showed a picture of?
I think that's CERN's. Whoa. This was a hot one. This is, I think that was Pat. I think what they were thinking of is an implantable.
Right.
So I think that did come from Pat, and that's the size of it.
And so it turns out that in periodic paralysis is the difference, or the ratio between the potassium ions in the bloodstream potassium ions in muscle tissue that causes the attacks.
Okay.
So you have both in the muscle and subcutaneously. Then you can really tell what's going on in the patient. Because some of us have completely normal blood potassium and have terrible attacks, but that's because we can't see what's going on inside the muscle. So if you have a pair or two sets, then you could do both. So I just wanted to point out here, it's not just one set. In the muscle and subcutaneous.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. Whoa. I'm going to turn this thing down. Let's fuck out. Anyway, it's hard to run a battalion. I was in better shape back then. They still call cadence. That patent, particularly at the University of Arkansas, which I thought was really interesting, did have. Oh, am I better? Okay. I guess people on TV need to hear me. The University of Arkansas patent did have all that. It was quite inclusive and a big umbrella. I'm surprised you got it. But it does have it where it's an implantable. I think the implantable might be a phase 2, but going back to Alan's point, I think for cardiology, if they're really going for it, this is something that you could put in it. The newest absorbable stents have been out. I haven't been in a room where they use one yet, but they do have absorbable stents now that are coming out. They put this in and it could basically sit. Yeah, it would sit anywhere. So I think the cardiology folks are intending to put it inside the muscles or the muscle of the heart. So to use it for this application, that gets it into a whole new classification for device clearance, which is a class 3, which is a lot harder, but I think it comes back to, it'd be really kind of neat to take the cardiology stuff and just modify it for this group. So to answer your question, I think the technology and the patents are there to do that. It comes back to the absorbable battery, which just came out about 9 months ago. So, TV with me. Where are you from in England? Yes. So I was over in Oxford this summer at the Oxford Trust. So I'm a little familiar. I've been in and out of that organization for a while. Okay.
Yes.
We have Volker, and I don't know if I can bend the camera down or not so we can see him a little pull up, but he has a question too.
Yes, I was wondering, because you want to put on the skin or put in the tissue. Many people with periodic paralysis have got also Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and which is a connective tissue disorder. And if you put something on the skin, we can easily get skin problems. When you implant something, it feels very problematic. Have you thought about such things?
I have not. I remember that from the condition of what it involves school, but I have not, honestly. I don't know how much of a complication.
It's a rare intersection.
Okay, thanks.
A rare intersection between dermatology and periodic paralysis. I would say that if you do a small cut on the skin, then the skin has like a fish mouth scar, they call it. I think that if you're just sticking micro needles in there, you're not going to see much of anything. I mean, if you look at even in someone with Ehlers-Danlos, if you look at where they get venipuncture, there's not major gaping holes in their antecubital fossa, in front of their elbow. So I don't think that should be too bad of a problem. But and it's a risk-benefit, obviously. If you want to know your potassium or you don't want a scar, it certainly would be up to the patient, I think. Yeah. Thank you.
Hey, you got another one. This is Marlene. She's just from across the pond. She's on the opposite side of the world here in New Zealand.
Now, the little patches, they actually go into the interstitial fluid, not into the serum?
There's a lot of versions.
Okay.
There's a lot of versions. The ones that I've seen will actually go into the capillaries. So I've seen stuff at the nanoscale that'll go into the capillaries and you don't even feel it. And then there's some that are more surface sensors and some that go down to sub-Q. So once the evolution of this, that was quite large that you guys saw. The technology that's happening right now is to actually print the whole lab on a chip on something that you can probably push through a 14-gauge needle or a 12-gauge needle. Something like it's that small. You know how you chip your dog? You know, the chips that they put in the dogs for markers in case they get lost. It's about that. They can do that size or even a little smaller gauge even than that because everything's at a nanoscale, so the whole chip itself is something very small. It's typically made out of gold, absorbable PLAs. Most designs out there, you're going to end up with gold in your kidney and your liver, but it's such a minute amount that even after 30, 40 years, you may have a fraction of a fraction of a gram.
Because the ones that continuously measure glucose from the interstitial fluid, they actually have problems with the algorithm between interstitial fluid and serum, and there's a lag period as well.
What's the lag?
Those particular ones you cannot use for real-time glucose measurements, only for more long-term control. But if you're saying the one you're thinking of goes into the capillaries, that's fine. And I'm very happy, so thank you.
Thanks. So a lot of thoughts here. You guys are really analyzing this, which is really good. I still keep coming back to, I think the systems that the cardio folks are developing are pretty close to what we're talking about here. And with the muscle issues, the actual, potassium in the bloodstream and so on and so forth. So I think still going down the path of following a cardiologist may not be a bad idea. Does anybody else have any questions? Does anybody else know of any other technologies out there that you've seen across the world that you think may lend itself to this?
I mean, I think that The hot mic. Yeah, we have to remember to try to hold it to more close. Anyway, the iStat, which Linda has used. Has anyone else used the iStat in this room? Oh, yeah, Lord. So, but that requires like a blood draw, and you put it in the machine, and you get a number, and it's a big to-do thing. So this would beat the pants off the iStat. Plus, Abbott has the iStat for just like doctors' use in office for people who are doing, you know, a lot of chemistries but don't want to send it to a lab, so they can do it right there. But this is, yeah. So, and they've been very stingy about letting periodic paralysis folks have this. That was we fought a lot with them, and they weren't interested in helping. So, anyway, yeah, that's the competing technology that I'm aware of.
Yeah, that's the one that. Did anybody still hear me? That's the one that I'm familiar with too. But oh yeah, thanks. That's what I'm familiar with too. But now with all the technology that's coming out and what everybody's doing, the ability to print stuff at the nanoscale. One of my papers I had to do was our group was in charge of quality control on actually making chips. So one group had to come up with processes on how to make a lab on a chip. We had to figure out how to do the quality control to make sure everything was put on in an order that was correct and actually measure the quality of it. So it's getting there. I can't put a time frame on it, but I do see stuff, the patents that are coming out, and it'd be interesting. I think it would be, and I'm a little cowboy in a lot of stuff, but it'd be interesting to contact University of Arkansas and see what their take would be on the condition that you all have, and see if they're open to looking at doing some research with the technology they already have. So I'd be more than happy to volunteer to make a few phone calls, send a few emails for you, and see what we could come up with. Because I think that's going to be the first step, is getting in touch with these people and try to form a information link or circle where you could put the people that are working on something that really relates to this, and not necessarily have thought of it. So
Great.
I guess that's it.
Yeah, Leigh, thank you so much. Please, round of applause. This is super exciting stuff, and definitely we're going to follow up with that. And the larger organization, if I go as the president of the PPA and say, you know, we have 10 members, they're going to be like, ah. But you know, the more people that if we have, you know, I think we have something like plus or minus 1,300, 1,500, something like that. That's 2,500. It's grown. So, well, we get like I think like at least one person a day registers now. So, you know, whether people have it or not. But anyway, we have a lot of numbers. The bigger the organization we are, the more weight we carry with any outside entity. So, certainly that's a good thing. What I think we should do now is take a break for, 5-10 minutes, and then we'll have Taro come up and give a little just introduction on their experience with dichlorphenamide. Thanks.
Thank you.